every time you open up a septic tank, most all customers want to run because they don't want to see what it looks like. We've had some situations where, you open up and you're like, wow, somebody's having some fun here. And, the husband's standing over his shoulder and like, hey, that's not me. Nobody wants to look in there because it could tell secrets.
Welcome back to the Garden State Growth Show. Today we're excited to have our professional guest, Jason Drift of New Jersey Septic Management. Jason, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Some people say you're in a dirty business.
That is for sure.
But before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, I've been in business now in New Jersey Septic for 25 years. Didn't start out in the septic business, started out in the excavating landscape business, and it was kind of a natural progression to get into the septic world. It was, I enjoyed dealing with people, I enjoyed working with real estate, I enjoyed working with heavy equipment, and it was kind of a natural progression to challenge ourselves and get into a business that brought everything together.
Right.
So,
and you're in Montgomery Township, right?
Yeah, Somerset County, Montgomery Township.
And what areas do you serve?
Basically 3 counties, Somerset County, Hunterdon, and Mercer counties.
Okay. And you started as a landscaping business. How long ago was that?
My father started the business. It was originated in 1961, so I grew up in that business. And, in about 2002 is when we started septic management.
Okay. So in 1960s, Montgomery was a little more rural than it is now. You've seen the explosive growth of Montgomery Township, and you service some of the homes there, because you don't just do inspections and build them, you also service the septic?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we build a relationship with the homeowner, and we take them from real estate transaction all the way through living with a septic system. Yeah. So we're their go-to people.
Cool.
Nice.
And you guys have expanded your services. You still do landscaping?
We do, selectively. It's a very competitive business.
Yeah.
So we've kind of gotten out of it, but, some of our loyal customers we still serve.
Sure. Anything else besides septic and landscaping?
We build a few houses a year. We're in commercial snow removal. So we're in a bunch of different, businesses, you'd say.
Yeah, sure. And, what percent of your business would you say is like new septic systems and engineering and all that? Or is it more inspections and repairs?
Well, that's a tough question. I mean, when you say new septics, you're talking for older homes, upgraded, correct? Because we're not at new construction at all.
Right,
it's mostly older homes. We do about 40 installations per year, which keeps us busy. Dollar-wise, obviously, that's the biggest part of our business. But inspection, I like to think is really where we get our business from. We self-generate most of our work. Sure. And it kind of starts from the real estate transaction.
Gotcha. What are some common misconceptions about septic systems that you hear when you're dealing with buyers or sellers of real estate?
That every septic has to be replaced, of course. Everybody thinks that, just because it's older, it needs to be replaced. And reality is, it's not the case. Usually what happens is somebody inspects the system and they find minor problems, and all of a sudden it throws up red flags, and now the attorneys, the buyer's real estate agent are kind of scaring the buyer and forcing them to, kind of demand a new septic.
Right.
So it's a lot of buyers make that mistake of listening to too many people.
Ruins the bunch.
Yeah, exactly.
It's bad apple ruins the bunch.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can still repair systems, and does not always need full replacement.
What's the most common repairs you guys are doing?
The most common is tank replacement, distribution box replacements, and just because they're concrete components and they deteriorate over time. Okay. So as they age, the concrete gets weak and ends up leaking and needs replacement. So
what can you do to extend the life of those? Do they all last the same amount of time?
They do. Those concrete components, there's really nothing you can do, but to extend the life of a septic system, you can obviously do routine pump outs, put a service program in place where routinely we come out, clean filters, educate the homeowner. There's good additives and there's bad additives. So there's the maintenance is very important.
It really depends on what you put in them.
Exactly.
I was talking to some technicians, and they're like, we've seen them fail in 10 years, we've seen them last 60 years.
Right. And it's exactly what you put into it. And, the people that are flushing the toilet, obviously, it's food that's being digested through their body. If they have a healthy diet, septic's healthy. If they're using a lot of medications, obviously that medication is, serving its purpose in the human body. But when it flushes through the system and ends up in the septic tank, those chemicals are killing off the good bacteria. So you are what you eat, and obviously that is the result in the septic tank. Sometimes it's a problem, sometimes it's a healthy system.
One thing I hear sometimes is like, they think it's just going into a tank and it's going to overflow one day if they don't watch it, So it's common misconceptions like they got to pump it out every month or something. But tell us a little bit more of like how a septic system works as far as the tank, the distribution box, like what is that, and then where does it go from there?
Yeah, so a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people think they flush the toilet and it goes into a tank and it remains empty until they, fill it up eventually a year or two down the road. But every septic tank operates at 100% full capacity at all times, which means if the tank is 1,000-gallon volume, once you use 1,000 gallons of water, it's operating at 1,000 gallons, and when you flush the toilet, equal amount of water is exiting the tank going to your drain field. Now, how it's dispersed is sometimes through a distribution box, sometimes it goes to a pump tank, and then your disposal field. But every septic system starts with a septic tank and ends with some type of disposal area, whether it's a raised mound, whether it's a flush grade system, whether it's seepage pits. But it's basically all waste is received to a septic tank and then goes to a drain field from there.
You don't see the field, it's underground. It's like a couple feet underground usually, unless it's a mound system.
Exactly.
When should somebody service their septic tank or look into, I guess addressing to see if there's any issues? Is it standard for somebody before they're to sell their house? Obviously, get that checked out. Would you recommend that?
Absolutely. If you have a client that's considering selling their home, doing a pre-listing inspection is perfect. It makes perfect sense because at that point, number one, that report that we generate does not go to the health department. So it's only for information purposes to the seller. So if they have minor, items such as a tank or a distribution box that needs to be replaced, they can go down, get a permit, fix it, get the system up and running, and then they, have a fully functional septic system.
Keep the attorneys out of the mix all the same,
Keep the inspectors, when they come through, they can say, oh, it's an older system, but it's fully functional. So, it kind of eliminates that fear factor of
When I'm working with sellers, I always recommend a pre-sale inspection because it lets you know what's going on underground. You may think it's perfect, because I take a shower every day and it's not coming back in the house, so we're good.
It makes perfect sense, and you're really, doing a good service to your clients by advising them like that. Unfortunately, most realtors don't. They don't want the seller to know the condition, or they just don't think it's important because, the seller says, oh, yeah, everything is fine, and they take them, at face value on that. And, what ends up happening is they don't do a pre-listing. They list it at a sale price, they accept the contract, it goes through attorney review, and then all of a sudden they start doing their inspections, and oh, by the way, your septic has problems, and now you're under the gun. You have to fix it if you want to close. And it's public information, it's part of the public record, and it's not like you can't say I didn't know or something like that at that point.
Now you're faced with a choice of like, do I repair it or go back on the market? Now we go back on the market, what's wrong with the house?
It's in the health department record, so it's not like
you're on a ride you don't want to be on.
So it always makes sense to do a pre-listing inspection.
Sure. Yeah, because they're going to inspect it anyway. So you might as well do it first and get your arms around the process.
Yep, I agree.
And so, okay, that's selling. So when you're buying, there's a lot of septic inspectors. Buyers can choose wide price ranges. Like, what makes you guys different than the run-of-the-mill septic inspector for a couple $100?
Well, I mean, obviously the quality of inspection, right? So having the proper tools to really get to the bottom of the problems. When we go out to do an inspection, we send a qualified crew, it's a two-man crew, fully equipped with cameras and locating devices, small machinery to uncover all components as we feel fit. Most go out there, their inspectors are not knowledgeable. They don't really know, they don't have experience, they don't have the tools, they don't try and get the records from the health department, so they're really kind of going in blind and doing more of a cursory inspection, for
Kind of like kicking the tire.
Yeah.
Seeing how much air's in there. That's good.
Right, and it's not even considerably less than our inspection, it's slightly less. And a lot of realtors or homeowners or attorneys think that's kind of good enough, so we're not of that mindset. We feel, we like to think we perform the highest level inspection, because we want to sleep well at night, we want to advise our clients, give them good information so they can make their decision from there. And I don't want them coming back to us in a year or two down the road and saying, well, you inspected the system and now it's failing. And now they have to pay. Now that $50,000 bill kind of falls on their lap. So we want to give them as much information as we possibly can and let them make their decisions, let them do their negotiations from there. So
when I'm working with buyers, I generally say a brand new system is about $10,000 a bedroom. So let's not look to save 200 here.
Right. Exactly.
This is a $50,000 asset underground.
Yeah.
Do you want a good inspection or a great one?
Yep. Yeah. No,
And
that's.
I noticed what you guys do that's different is you set up a meeting to do like a consultation with the client on Zoom, where it's like you walk them through the whole inspection, the video. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so that was one of kind of my, I would say, dreams, and COVID kind of accelerated that process. Whenever we, perform an inspection, it was always, the buyer was always looking over your shoulder, always wanting to know the health of the system right there on the spot. So we kind of encourage the realtors and the potential buyers to give us our time, let us perform the inspection. And then once we get all the facts and put it into a report, we'll then meet up with you, not in person, but via Zoom meetings. And we have been working at it for over 3 years now. We have developed amazing software where we gather all the information in the field. And within minutes of us leaving the property, we've generated multiple different reports, including a PowerPoint presentation. So within literally 60 seconds of us completing that inspection, we generate DEP form, we generate a summary letter, we generate a PowerPoint presentation, and we process payment, all within 60 seconds of completing an inspection. And it's all in color. The biggest thing with, I don't know how familiar most people are with the DEP format, it's a very boring report. And there's a lot of check boxes, X's and checks and so forth. So the simplest thing that we did is we added color to that. So somebody that doesn't know anything about septic can know that if something is checked off in red versus green, obviously that's a problem and you need to draw your attention to that section. So we added that. We've deleted things that don't apply, because often in the old form, if you didn't have a pump tank as an example, it was always in the form. So people will be like, well, what about this? Did you miss this inspection? And no, the answer is let's not confuse people. Let's give them information on each component. So by putting together a nice, efficient, professional DEP form, including a summary letter and the PowerPoint, people love it, and our goal is to educate. Our goal is to grow our business, of course, but we believe at New Jersey Septic, the best way to do it is educate. The more you know about what you're buying, the easier the decision is. And if we're doing an inspection for $750 and somebody's at, $600, and they're not really giving you any additional information or really educating you, did you really get your money's worth? And in my opinion is no. So we've spent a tremendous amount of time, money building this software, building diagrams. And one of the nice features in our software is when we first started developing the software, we wanted to do animation looking diagrams. Not cartoon, but like real, I'm sure sure you've seen some of them, where it shows house with a septic tank and all the different components. So we started working with a sketch artist, an animator, and started creating these diagrams. And at first, we said, well, how many diagrams are you going to have? 20, 30? I thought that was a high number, okay? I think to date, where we are with our diagrams is 508. So that means...
Off by 25.
Yeah, you know, I would have never guessed that in a million years. But the beautiful part of our software is when we go through your inspection, it's a modular base, which means we start at the house and we encounter a sewer line, then we encounter a septic tank. And as we build it out, at the end of it, it builds the report custom to that, and it also inserts the appropriate diagram to that report. So you get a full diagram. Obviously, it's not the exact house, but you'll see each individual component, and it's all labeled. You understand, you know, what the different components are, and it's, you know, it makes...
People are visual learners.
Yeah,
you know, so you dumb
100%.
things down to a first grade level.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
That's how I am.
That's it. Yeah.
So it was quite the undertaking, and it really it started out as a small project, and you know, we're how many years?
And you own that IP.
Yes.
Is that something you're going to license to other
We
companies?
We are. Other inspection companies. Yeah. So we've already, you know, started going down that path. We're going to try and launch at the end of this year, and it's not going to be limited to New Jersey. You know.
Well, if you need some salesmen for the software, I know a few good guys over there.
Our last guest, yeah.
That's great. So it sounds like you're a value-driven business where you're not in a race to the bottom, just like more of a race to be the best. And I also noticed you guys are there after the sale, where some companies are just inspection only, you're on your own.
Yeah, hit and run.
It's like, I noticed that you guys build the relationship during the inspection. Good chance you're also going to have the maintenance contract too.
Well, maintenance and/or repairs, you know, and you know, some realtors and some professionals think that's a conflict of interest. You know, oh, you're an inspection company and you do repairs. You know, I like to sleep well at night, and I believe that if we do a proper inspection and report the facts and back up the facts with documents, photos, illustrations, whatever it may be, I don't care who goes out there or a second opinion, as long as what we report is accurate.
Right.
You know, we'll stand behind that. And I feel, you know, there's nobody in the industry that's put the time in to educate themselves and put the tools together to educate, you know, the consumers. And we're not looking, if a realtor or somebody doesn't want to use us for repairs or the after maintenance or anything like that, that's okay. You know, you can still use us for inspections and we'll still serve your clients to the best of our ability, you know, because at the end of the day, we want to educate people, period. And if that means more business to us, great. But I also just, you know, our goal is education, period.
All right, so let's say there are buyers in the house, or homeowner owns a home with a septic system. What's the maintenance program look like?
Okay, so there's three parts to a maintenance program. Obviously, everybody's familiar with it. Every septic needs to be pumped out. So, rule of thumb, everybody says in the industry every 3 years. That's kind of unrealistic because it's really based off of how many people live in the home and what kind of waste are they generating. So, routine pump outs anywhere from 18 months to 36 months. We offer a service program, which means we come out twice per year and we do a multi-point check on the septic tank and all of its components. As the number one qualifier for a service program is you have to have a filter in the septic tank. And since 2012, it's been required, so it's not like something new to New Jersey.
What is that filter called?
It's an effluent filter. It's positioned in the outlet of the septic tank, and it basically catches any of the suspended solids that typically would be migrating through the septic tank. You know, the industry says a septic tank is only about 75 to 80% effective on separating out solids. So that means, you know, more than 20% on average are being passed through the septic tank and making their way to the field. And those small solids are eventually going to cause failure to the drain field. So by putting in a filter, you can get that almost to 100%. Oh, wow. And by putting in a filter, it's inexpensive. It's usually less than $1,000. or it's already installed in your septic tank and you don't even know it, okay?
Oh, wow.
So routinely pumping your septic tank, implementing a filter program, and then, putting in a good additive into your septic tank will help digest the waste. There are some good products, there's some bad products as well. But, pumping the septic tank is what everybody knows.
And you guys do the pumping as well?
We do. We operate our own pump trucks. We're excited to announce that this year we took possession of the only recycling pump truck in the state of New Jersey.
What does that mean, recycling pump truck?
So an average septic tank holds 1,000 gallons of water, solids and water, combination, okay? Really, when you pump a septic tank, you're removing the solids. The clear water is filled with good bacteria, and you really don't want to take it out. You really want to take out the solid waste. Unfortunately, with the conventional trucks, you come to a house and it has a 1,000-gallon tank. You're forced to remove all of it because you have no way of separating the waste. Where with our truck, it actually removes all of the waste, and then it filters out the solids, and then it puts the good bacteria-filled water back into the tank. So an average 1,000-gallon septic tank, we can recycle 900 gallons of water and put it back into the tank. It's doing a better job because it's removing all the solids. A lot of pumpers leave a lot of solids behind. Of course, the piece of equipment is considerably more expensive than your average truck.
Sure.
But long-term benefits. Number one, we're reducing the amount of waste that's being transported to the sewer treatment plants. It's making their lives a little bit easier. Less water from us to process. So, instead of doing 3 jobs before you have to go dump the truck, we can do 10, we can do 12. It's that efficient. So
does homeowners save money with that, or is it?
They can save money if they are on a reoccurring pump out schedule with us. Okay. Initially, often, there's a lot of waste in there, and because they probably haven't had a service like what we're going to provide. So that first pump out, to get them on board, it's typically the same cost. But then moving forward from there, every 18 months, every 24 months, we return, the cost could be considerably less to them.
So if you're putting the healthy bacteria back in theory, their system is lasting longer.
100%.
You're increasing the longevity of the system, which is
and you're able to service more clients.
Exactly. And it's great for the environment. Not only taking that stress off the sewer treatment plants, we're reducing fuel, reducing emissions, wear and tear. Just taking that traffic off the road. We can go into a neighborhood and service 10 customers before we have to leave. So there's huge savings all the way around.
Do you have any favorite client stories from the past?
We can't kiss and tell. It's funny because I don't have any favorite client stories, but every time you open up a septic tank, most all customers want to run because they don't want to see what it looks like. They don't want to see what their family members are flushing. We've had some situations where, you open up and you're like, wow, somebody's having some fun here, and the husband's standing over his shoulder and like, hey, that's not me. Nobody wants to look in there because it could tell secrets.
Fair enough.
So, what gets you up in the morning? Why do you keep doing what you do? Is it for your family, for the community?
It's all the above. It's I love what I do. We're family. Through and through.
Some of your kids work at your...
Yeah. My daughter's working in the business now. She's 25. She went to school for advertised marketing, communications, and she's kind of heading that up for us. My son's getting ready to graduate with business, so he's going to come into the business. It is a family business, so my brother also works in the business. My father's been around, for many years, working landscape business, building business, but the septic's kind of been my baby, and I've been putting, all love, sweat, and tears into it. And, so what drives me? Yeah, my family drives me. I want to create something that I can pass down to, generations. Sure. I want to educate homeowners, help them, with their investment. I hate seeing people spend money on septic replacements. You know, a new septic is very expensive, and if I can educate them, show them a better way of using a system, and it's going to save them money in the long run, that's great. But really, what it comes down to, I love what I do. You know, I never was an office guy. I never was a big school guy. You know, I couldn't wait to graduate high school, and swore I'd never pick up another pen or a book or a computer, and here I am. You know, basically 100% of my time is consumed with office work now. And, I wish I did have a little formal education to back that up, but I learned the hard way. You know, I like to say I have so many degrees under my belt, school hard knocks. You know, it's like surround yourself with good people. You live, you learn, and
fail forward.
Yeah, everybody makes mistakes, but the difference of successful people and failing people is, did you learn from it? And if you learn from it, well then, chalk it up to another degree. If you didn't learn from it, you're just a fool.
Awesome. Well, Jason, thank you for coming in. It's great.
Thanks for having me.
Great to learn about your business. If people want to get in touch with you, what's your website?
nj-septic.com.
Okay. nj-septic.com. Check it out. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hold on, don't go anywhere. There's another episode coming up next. This one. Wait for it.